All right, let us say hello to Robert Whittaker, who is looking to regain the UFC middleweight title February 12th, UFC 271 against Israel Adesanya in Houston, Texas. Always great catching up with this man. Always tremendous insight. Robert, how are you, sir? I love this background. This is the first time we've had a chance to chat since we see this backdrop. How's everything going?
No, everything's very well. Camp's been fantastic. The ups and downs as a camp has. And, mate, I'm ready to get in there and just get to work. I'm getting sick of it.
I bet. Thank you for doing this, by the way. There's been a lot going on in your world. Of course, you got this big fight coming up. New gyms are opening up. You're becoming a video game character, not to mention everything in the normal life, being a family man, a dad, new babies in the house. Like, although you haven't fought in 9 or so months, you've had a lot to keep you pretty busy, haven't you? How would you describe these past 9-10 months since the win over Kelvin Gastelum?
Yeah, it's been... Yes, it's been strange, there's been a lot of ups and downs. So there's been a lot of times of like preparing for fights, wondering what's going to be happening, preparing for dates that fell over, they got pushed back, trying to organize a new gym. As you said before, day-to-day life, having 4 kids is kind of a full-time job as well. So yeah, I've just been enjoying it though. Whilst I didn't get as much work done as I would have liked, it was still a good year.
The last time we spoke, man, it's been a minute. I think it was like right around Thanksgiving 2020, I think. And we spoke about a number of different things. It was an interesting time in your life and your career. You were trying to clear the air about some misconceptions, some things said by the UFC, Dana White. Maybe your words got twisted around. You weren't overly thrilled about that time in your career, but it seems like things are back on track. So how would you describe your relationship with the UFC these days? Because it seems much better than it was the last time we spoke.
What in regards to the miscommunication I had with the UFC, when was this again? Sorry?
This is November 2020. So I think it was like right after the win over Cannonier. There was talks about, about maybe you fighting at Israel. He ended up getting the title fight with Jan Blachowicz and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I've always felt like I have a great relationship with the UFC. As an employee, they put a name in front of me and I fight them. I've never been very picky with my my opponents, so they've got to love that. My relationship with the UFC now is great. It's great. I was never really chasing the title. Like you could see in my fights post losing the belt, it wasn't like every time I had a win, I just started screaming at the top of my lungs, I want a belt. I want that fight. Because I guess it wasn't that I didn't want it. It's just that I was happy with the process of getting it. I was happy with that run to getting it back, to formulating a new style within myself, formulating new skill sets and taking those into my fights. You could see that with my fights with Cannonier and Gaston, until I'm trying to complete and round out my skill set, utilize a complete skill set. So, and I was happy. I was happy doing my job, and when I think that got miscommunicated with the UFC, but otherwise, no, we're cool.
Yeah, the whole thing was, you weren't going to be available to fight, but the reason why was because you were about to be a dad and you weren't in any rush to fight for the belt. So it was almost like it was just painted in a weird way, and you came on to clarify that. So I'm glad things are better. And I know you were on with my colleague Ariel Helwani this past week as we record this, and you kind of clarified some other things, or maybe expounded more on comments regarding your ego getting the best of you in the last fight with Israel, how you've sort of let your anger and hate go for Israel, even grown to like him in some ways, which I thought was really cool. I'm curious how freeing of a feeling that is to having that kind of mentality this time around, especially with how drastically different the first fight seemed.
Yeah, I guess, letting go of little petty things like that, and having a clear picture of why I'm fighting, how I want to fight, and when I want to fight, and how I'm doing things, how I'm approaching my career and my fight, and the fights themselves. It's just freeing. I think everybody our headspace is limited, and I think the more you fill it up, everything just gets compressed and it gets stressful, and it's just clearing up some of that headspace and not having to worry about little things like that. It's made a world of difference. I am so happy I guess I'm happy with how everything's going. I'm enjoying the process. Like, we have days. Everyone has days where the process is hard and you don't want to get out of bed, but you got to go hit a session that you'll probably sweat to almost exhaustion and feel like throwing up, right? But they're far and few between, and overall, I'm very grateful for what I have. And I'm happy. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I really took away from our last conversation overall, was this mentality of just being you. You are unapologetically who you are. You're good with that. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. There was this quote that pops into my mind sometimes that I saw on your Instagram a few months back. It was something to the effect of, you'd rather be yourself as a bricklayer than a multimillionaire as somebody else. What a powerful quote that was, man. Is that something you had to sort of realize about yourself, about being in the limelight as a UFC fighter, maybe a champion, or has that, at least in some way, always been the way you've approached things?
I think it's something that I've tried to approach. It's something of a way I've tried to conduct myself, but I don't think I fully understood it until I was put against, having the belt, put into the scenarios where change was around me, where it was kind of getting pushed on me subconsciously, subliminally, like change was happening. And it wasn't until I had gotten the belt and then lost the belt that I took that step aside from the game, and I sat down to really, deep dive into my own, I guess, psyche and way of doing things, that I truly understood why I want to do things, how I want to do things, what my real legacy is, what I want people to speak about, how I want to conduct myself, how I want to affect others. And, all this stems on just like a little bit of soul searching after that loss.
I remember an interview Rose Namajunas did in the past about the first time she was the champion. She almost, I don't know if she said she hated being the champion, but she certainly didn't like it the first time around. I don't think she understood the gravity and the power that the championship kind of bestowed upon her. But now that she's the champion again, it feels much better. She's better prepared for it now. Is it kind of similar in your eyes as well? Or do you feel like it's a little bit different on your end?
There are some similarities for sure. If I could, I don't like saying things like that, go back in time. Everything in hindsight, I guess I am vastly different than the person I was when I had the belt, and I am much happier for it. I feel much more complete and satisfied in what I'm doing in life now than I was then. So I think getting the belt the second time, I'll have a much better picture of where I want to go with the belt. There's that whole thing that some fighters lose their drive once they reach their target, their goal. And I don't think I truly had that suffering. I don't think I truly suffered from that mentality, but it was a thing. That was an aspect of what I did, because I enjoy the progression in my career. I enjoy being 11 and then fighting 8 and then moving up to 7. I loved that little progression. I'm a gamer at heart. That's just how, in my head, that just appeals to me. So that, and I think I needed time to come to grips with the title and how that changed the dynamic. And, unfortunately, when you're at the top, you're not given a lot of time. So, I guess, moving into this next fight, the way I am and how happy and satisfied and confident in myself and in my life and in my career I am at the moment, I'm going to go into this fight, give it my absolute everything, give it the best of everything I have, and be satisfied walking out of there. That last fight, I guess the overwhelming feeling was dissatisfaction. I was not happy, and I was unsatisfied. And I feel moving into this next fight, I'm going to get that satisfaction.
When you say, and I don't know if obviously you've had to think about it at some point, when you say that you sort of know what you want to do with the belt now, where you want to take this sort of championship role that could be bestowed upon you on February 12th. What do you mean by that? Have you thought about what will be different? What kind of changes you'll make?
Definitely not I never think past the date of the fight. And I've just never done that. I've never planned anything. I've never planned anything so far as like what I'm going to eat that night. Like I don't plan past the fight. The fight's it's too much of a wild card. It's a flip of the coin sometimes. So I guess where I come from when I'm saying that is that I know who I am now. I know why I do things, and the belt won't change that. The belt will just add more highlight to what I'm already doing, and understanding that is a huge step for me.
It's huge. It's huge for a lot of champions. I talked to Brandon Moreno the other day, and that was like a fear of his, was that, maybe he'd get a little too big headed, a little too big for his britches. And it said like the first month, it was just, he would go to crowded restaurants and the owner of the restaurant would recognize him and seat him at a table. And he was enjoying that part of it. And then he realized, like, I gotta get my focus back. I can't fall into this trap that other champions, not saying you did, but other champions have fallen into. So it's really interesting, the mentality heading into a championship fight as opposed to winning that championship fight and being the champion, and how different that actually is.
There's a saying, like, getting the championship title is much easier than holding it. And I agree, because it's like, not only are the fights hard, right? The fights are hard, but I think the external factors of being a champion are much more significant than anything else. Because you're the champ, you got the belt, you know how to fight. Your skill sets are high. Like, there's no doubting that. But you weren't affected by the same things.
I know. And like you said, you're a gamer, and I feel like this road back to the title shot is actually been perfect for you. The fight with Darren Till, a lot to take away from that fight. Cannonier, good gritty battle. You get in there and get it done. Gastelum win was outstanding. It was a very complete showing on your part. And I know, at least getting to this fight itself, because you talked about the different dates and moving things around and trying to sort of prepare for that, I know it may have seemed like it's taken a long time to get to this rematch, and there's a little bit of antsiness to you, and we can't turn back time and change things. But I feel like with everything involved, I feel like the timing for this fight is kind of perfect for a number of reasons. And I don't mean to keep like name dropping, but just talking to you, all these different conversations that popped in my head. I was talking to Calvin Kattar's head coach, who's obviously Calvin's getting ready to fight Giga Chikadze. And Calvin's mentality with being out for so long, he was out for a year after the Max Holloway fight and returning 3-4 months after he had hoped to return. His thought process always was, well, I can't get worse with more time. So like, I'll just embrace it and I can't get worse with that. What do you think about that? Do you sort of feel the same way?
Well, those 3 fights post the Adesanya loss was massive for me. I enjoyed that process. I think I was still kind of putting myself together, sort of thing, as in like finding myself in that journey. And like I said earlier, that I was still trying to round out my skill set in the fight. Like, I know how to grapple, I know how to wrestle, but I wanted to do that in the fight and just complete my skill set. And the trial and error, like, and I guess the confidence to do that only came from those fights, because it's scary mixing things up, especially in such a high stakes situation like a fight. I've never had to wrestle anyone in my entire career. Why start? But I guess it's just like, it makes things easier, to be honest. Why waste that weapon, that tool, that skill set? So I wanted to be more. I wanted to get better, to raise my level, and I think I did that. And the pushing back of dates with Adesanya was a kind of, it wasn't ideal, but in saying that, like, I didn't hate the time I had at home with my family. I didn't hate the time I was spending in the gym, working my skill sets. And, there were a lot of benefits that came out of that as well.
Do you feel like you will embrace the build to this fight a lot more? Because I feel like Adesanya's entertainment value, his quick wit, if you will, I think you're just going to relax and enjoy it a bit more. Maybe you'll even partake and have some fun with it, like a much looser approach to fight week, because it's probably gonna be a press conference and all that. I think you'll probably enjoy the process a lot more. Am I onto something? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think certainly that me not being so pent up and hard on myself is like I have a much more relaxed approach to fight week and stuff like nowadays and to things like that. So that will definitely rub off in all this stuff. It'll make it easier because I'm not stressing myself out the whole time. I know why I'm in there. I know what I'm going to do. I know why I'm doing it.
I'm trying to think now. Is this the first time that you're fighting in Houston? This is the first time, right?
It is, and I'm pumped to hear the barbecue's real good there.
Yes. So this is a place that you've wanted to at least visit at some point.
Yeah, I want to visit everywhere, but I like fighting the States, and the fact that it's in Houston is fun. It's a fun change, and it's a place I've never been, and I get to go experience it, and then get to work. Like that's it's always been one of the highlights of the career is that I get to travel and see new places, see new sights, new sounds, and I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe Derek Lewis could show you around and you guys can hit up the hot BBQ spots as long as the weight cuts where it needs to be or maybe after the fight. But you and Derek Lewis hanging out together, that'd be hilarious to watch.
Maybe after the
fight. Yeah. I know, like you said, so I don't even know if I should even ask this question because you don't look past the date, obviously. And we're not talking about, future opponents or title defenses or anything like that. Winning the title back obviously would be a great start to professional goals for 2022. Chances are, if all goes well, maybe you do run it back with Izzy, but that's neither here nor there. What's sort of your ideal scenario for 2022 as a fighter? What would make 2022 the best possible year for you?
Honestly, I'm already having the best possible year. I'm not gonna let things like fights and winning and losing affect my entire year. That's crazy. Year's huge. I'm already having the time of my life. I've enjoyed the 15 days we've had so far. I love this. There is so much that happens in a year that I'm just excited for. I'm excited for after the fight, for when I can hang out with my friends and have a couple of bevies and eat some food that I didn't get to splurge on during Christmas. I'm good. I'm enjoying it.
It probably takes you a year to walk around this new gym that you have. That place is massive, man. That place is so big. What is that like? Yeah. Just being in there. Is it sometimes when you see photos and videos, it doesn't. Maybe seeing it in person, it doesn't justify the means, but that place looks gigantic. Is it as big in person as it looks in the videos?
Let me tell you, the videos and the photos do not do it justice. It is monstrous. You should see when we have open mats and there are groups everywhere rolling, comfortably. It is a different feeling being able to get in there and work in an environment like that. And there's a lot of light, the atmosphere going into it, the love and hard work that went into the construction is half the reason why the attitude and the environment feels the way it does. It's just, and our members and our culture of the members have just seeped into the place. And it's a privilege to be able to train there, honestly.
When you walk in there, do you have to, have you gotten used to it yet? Or do you still have to sort of look around and kind of have that TV moment where you're nodding up and down? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think I'm starting to get used to it, but there are still moments where I'm like, man, this is good.
It's pretty cool. It's got that new gym smell to it too, right?
It does. New staff rooms, new bathrooms. It's nice.
It's beautiful. I'm very excited for this fight, Robert. It's actually, coincidentally enough, it's taking place on my birthday. But so that's really cool. Maybe I'll get the chance to. Yes, maybe I'll get to head out there and cover this one in person. I haven't been to Texas in a long time, so that would be a nice little treat. But I appreciate you jumping on, man. I know you've been doing a few of these. It's been far too long. Congratulations on everything going on these days, the gym, the family, everything. All the best to you for this final stretch of the camp and in the fight on February 12th. I appreciate it very much.
No, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much, mate. It's always fun.